the Quad Cities is about river and road and rail. And the fact that literally for 100 years, this building has been here, but trains are such a big part of the Quad Cities, and the fact that they're going to roll through, even when we're doing a podcast, like what more fitting way to like bring this first, podcast from Union Station alive by having a train. You can hear it right at this door. There it goes.
Where do you find a family of communities connected by the Mississippi River and grounded by real people with real stories, where explorers, entrepreneurs, investors, and dreamers discover a place that's world-class, hassle-free, and refreshingly genuine? QC, that's where. Coming to you from the Union Station Podcast Studio, this is QC, That's Where.
Welcome to QC That's Where. I'm your host, Katrina, and this is a big day because this is our first episode we're recording in the Union Station Podcast Studio. QC That's Where has been around for several years, but this is the first time we are in our destination center, downtown Davenport, brand new studio. Our guest today, Dave Harrell, Visit Quad Cities President and CEO. Thank you for joining me as our first chit chat goes down.
You know what? It's so cool to be in this space. It's been a long time coming. Union Station is a landmark, right? Over 100 years of history and stories and all the people that have been in and out of this place for years. And the fact that not only is our destination center here, but now we can have our QC That's Where, podcast where we're telling stories about the Quad Cities and putting that out to thousands and thousands and hopefully millions of people. But this place is a landmark. And I think for us, the fact that we're so proud of this venue and to be in this space. And I love what you've done with the place. Like you totally made, something, I was going to say chicken, and chicken salad, but it's unbelievable and it's so creative. And I think it's just the right freshness and face of where this podcast is going.
There's so much potential here, like not only just in this studio, but in this building, in this community. There's so much potential. We're so proud to be located downtown Davenport. We're so proud to be able to represent both sides of the Quad Cities with our destination centers, one in Moline, one here. So having this space to just let it all come out is so exciting. As a marketing brain, having some owned media that we can, really grip into and share what we want to share, have these really unedited conversations is really important because that's it's what we are as a brand. It's what we are as a community. We're unedited, unfiltered, we're authentic, we're sometimes quirky, and we like to have, loud wall or aesthetic. Right. So it's just very cool to have this finally off the ground and get going.
Well, I think Union Station is it's just a central player in the evolution of where the Quad Cities has been for years, for generations. And so what I love about being in this kind of modernized space and what we're doing with our own media, strategy, but doing it from our destination center. This is a space where visitors are engaging with us, literally almost every day, but residents can too, and the fact that we're right in the heart of a very activated, space, but the fact that we can now, take this podcast and punch it up at another level by being in this, incredible new studio. Kudos to you. Thanks for bringing it to life. And I know it's been a huge creative endeavor with a lot of people to make it happen, but I'm proud of it. And I'm proud of where the QC That's Where podcast is heading, because it is about really unearthing these amazing, stories, and it's about shaping the perception of the Quad Cities. And if you can't do that from your physical plant, that being our destination, center at Union Station, I couldn't think of a more fitting place to do it.
So this podcast will cover a lot, but I think the main point that we're going to hit on is 2026 is looking to be a really huge year for Visit Quad Cities and the region because of that. So can you kind of go into what's ahead for the community this year?
Yeah, I think, we're we always have busy years, and every year is a little bit different. But I think so much of 2026 will be shaped by group business. We've got probably one of the most robust and diverse pieces of group business that I think we've ever had, from meetings, conventions, sporting events, a variety of things that we're doing in that space, large and small. And that requires a lot of time and energy from our professional team, our stakeholders. But to have all of these clients that we've been connected to for several years and seeing some of these things come alive in 26 will be a lot of fun for us. But certainly it's going to require, a lot of teamwork to pull them off. But I think it's going to be a big year. There's a lot of things behind the scenes, that we talked about at Destination QC in November that we want to get moving on this calendar year. So really excited about what's ahead and look forward to talking about it a little bit more.
Yeah, let's take a look at let's name off some of the events coming in. So a lot of sports. Sports QC has been working overtime to get all of these competitions, games in. So let's start with USBC bowling.
Okay.
A several week long challenge.
Yeah, well, I think we've sometimes you hear about these things and they're very front of house, like local media will pick them up, a little bit more attention, worthy. And then there's just a ton of stuff that happens behind the scenes that when people are in the Quad Cities and they're showing up at places, they're like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And then you talk about, the USBC is happening. And what that means is literally a multi-week event that will take place in the bowling space. And several thousand people coming into our community over a prolonged period of time. And that's really unique. And then kind of back that up with things like the D3, wrestling invitational that we're going to host, the Augustana. It's really the largest women's wrestling invitational in the country in the D3 space, and really excited about, hosting, that particular event. But then there's like a whole variety of things that we're going to be doing over the next several months, and really excited about where our sports QC advisory group and our team is kind of taking our sports commission and how we're trying to make sure sports tourism is continually prioritized in our market, because it's such a big thing for what we do.
And, on top of that, there's the LBAA Women's Bass Fishing Tour Tournament. And so that'll be a great way to activate the Mississippi River. I always think it's so cool when fishing events come here, because it's obviously, you should be fishing here on the Mississippi, no other place.
Yeah, and I think, people that are connected to that sport, obviously they want to have that Mississippi River, experience. And so our team has really been trying to think creatively about what are the different kinds of events that we can bring into our community. Sometimes the stick and ball stuff is phenomenal. People like JP Sports and what they, bring to TBK Bank Sports Complex and around the region is phenomenal. But events like, bass fishing, totally unique, brings in hundreds of competitors from all over the Midwest. And anytime we can get people connected to our world-renowned Mississippi River, we're going to do it.
Yes. And then let's talk golf a little bit. Golf is something that we get in our community year after year. But we have a new tournament this year with NJCAA. So can you tell us a little bit about why adding that is so special to what we've already got going on?
Well, I think for us, it's going to be a really busy year for championship golf events in the Quad Cities. We've had this amazing run of NAIA Men's and Women's Golf Championships. We're going to host the Men's Championship again at TPC, Deere Run, and just an amazing, venue to be able to host a championship event like that. We're also hosting the Missouri Valley Women's Conference golf tournament. And that, again, will be a Deere Run, and really excited about, having them in our backyard. And we're really proud of the relationship that we've got with the MVC. But our team has been very intentional with the NJCAA, because they've got hundreds and hundreds of colleges around the United States. And so that bench is very deep, and we've not really had a firm strategy to figure out how we can bring in incremental events. And so we've been getting to know them over the last couple of years And through that relationship, we landed the golf championship event for women. It's at the D1 level, NJCAA. So at Oakwood Country Club here in May, same week as NAIA Men's Championship, we're going to have essentially 2 championship events within the same week happening. And I don't think that's ever been done in the Quad Cities. So April and May are going to be really active in that space. And that's just one particular sport. There's a variety of things that we're doing, throughout the year, but really excited about those championship golf events that we've got this spring.
And we haven't even covered like the half of it yet, but let's move over to our group business. Yeah. So let's start with SAFECON. Okay. SAFECON is something that is going to be a very unique opportunity for our community. Can you tell us more about like how can we define it to the public?
Well, it's a great question. And so, just to back up a little bit, group business is the bread and butter of our visitor economy. We need people coming in here Monday through Thursday. We can't just rely on a leisure traveler. If you and I are coming in for a weekend, that's not going to drive the bus to have a thriving visitor economy. So you need meetings, you need conventions, you need conferences, you need all of these things. SAFECON was really kind of brought to us by our friends and our partners at the Quad Cities International Airport. And they said, hey, have you ever heard about this event? And it's the National Intercollegiate Flying Association. It's an event called SAFECON. And, I said, no, never heard of it, but I'll dig in. And as we did this research, we found that it's essentially like the Final Four for the aviation industry, to use kind of a sports analogy, because a lot of people are familiar with the Final Four. So there are collegiate programs all throughout the U.S. And these are, men and women that are thinking about, being pilots, right? Or they want to work for an airport authority, or they want to connect to any kind of industry, job, opportunity. But this is like the preeminent event for them that they do in May. And so we approached the association and said, why not the Quad Cities? We literally went to Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and did a presentation. Ben Leichner, our airport authority director, and myself, they were blown away about what the Quad Cities had to offer. And so this May, we're going to be hosting SAFECON. Multiple weeks, literally over 3 weeks, we're going to have, I'll call them competitors, that are going to be coming in from these respective, colleges and universities throughout the entire country and competing at a very, high level. So a lot of overnight, demands. Our hotel friends are going to be, very happy, very activated event. There's a huge event that we'll do at Rhythm City for all of the people connected to SAFECON. And it's not only an event for these competitors and the people that are connected to these colleges and university programs, but the aviation industry really takes notice because it's a talent driver for them. Yeah. So you're going to have people that are going to be coming into the market because they want to like get to know some of these people because they're obviously in a talent, rich environment. And this event would not take place without the Quad Cities International Airport. So the majority of all the activity is literally going to take place at the footprint of the airport. Commercial airlines are still going to be able to operate. The airport is still going to function like it does 7 days a week, but we're just going to have SAFECON a part of that. So a great chance to like elevate the profile of, that important industry and how it's so critical to our economy here. Our airport is this huge economic, development engine. And with Project Gateway, happening over the next couple of years, we want to make sure that we shed some light on all the exciting things that are happening, out at the airport. And if we can do that through an event like this, we want to do it. So really excited about SAFECON in May.
And you started to kind of pull back the curtain on the how. How do these events come here, right? I mean, it's more than just a phone call. It's more than just hoping somebody sends us an email. Hey, I've got an idea. I mean, walk through what like the typical process is. And that's one that like we've been working to get for years. You know, that didn't start last month. Right. That was, like you said, your presentation in Oshkosh, and these things take time and they take strategy. So like walk through the process.
Well, I think it's important to note that it's a highly competitive space. There are over 800 destination marketing organizations around the world that are competing every day for a group business. There's 38 in the state of Illinois. There's 21 in the state of Iowa. And so you got to start there. One, you're trying to program your community. You're trying to go after events that are hopefully going to yield an economic return, right? They're going to drive value for your visitor economy. Hopefully they're going to help, elevate your brand image, get people here in the community, excited about like what you're doing from a host perspective.
Yeah.
But it does take time. It's a relationship business. Our professional team does a great job. We are out at trade shows. We are doing sales calls. We are going through a very healthy database, over 11,000, prospective clients, current clients, talking about the future. If RFPs are going out, we are responding to them. If they strategically, fit within the framework of our market, and we're selling. I mean, we are a sales and marketing organization. That is a charge. And so we firmly believe that the only way to like program our community is you got to sell it. So you got to be at the right place at the right time. You got to have the professional expertise to be able to move the needle, to be able to get it done. You have to have the right, partners at the table to make it, a reality. And then, you got to be competitive. And so that requires investment, that requires strategy and a plan to be able to accomplish that objective. And probably 5 or 6 years ago, we might have had, 6 or 7 competitors going after the same piece of business. Now it could be 12, 14, 16 communities that are all going after the same piece of business because they know it's going to create value for their economy. And they know it's something that's going to definitely benefit their hospitality industry or even their brand image. Sometimes it's not always about the overnight demand. It might be about the prestige of hosting something because it's moving the needle forward as it relates to how are you showing up as a community? How are you creating a perception that's positive for your region? And then how are you bringing this stuff in so it yields a benefit to our visitor economy? And so we're very blessed. We've got a whole roster of events and pieces of business that we've got on the books for 2026, but we can't slow down. You have to be doing this literally, 5, 6, 7 days a week. And it's very future casted. We are looking at 2027. We're looking at things in 28 and 29, 2030 and beyond to be able to host.
Later on in 2026, Shriners, the Central States Shrine Association, will be here. That's a little different. That's a citywide. So explain what that means.
A citywide event, and I'm glad you brought it up. This is a huge undertaking by our community, and that actual idea came from one of our community members who reached out to us and said, "Hey, I'm part of this group, and I caught wind that they're looking at other communities around the Midwest, and would the Quad Cities be interested?" And that was really the spark for us to kind of dig in to see if that would be an opportunity for us. So like this whole bring it here QC thing is a thing. And so boy, if we can get more people like that are picking up the phone and saying, "Hey, visit Quad Cities, I'm part of this group. What do you think?"
Yeah.
And that's really what gestated the idea. And it took a couple of years to be able to land. But Central Shrine is a citywide event, which means it's going to take up a huge amount of hotel room supply in our market this August. Literally, we'll have over 8,000 overnight hotel room stays alone, about 5,000 attendees coming into our community for multiple days. They'll experience all that the Quad Cities has to offer, and we're really looking forward to it. This is probably the largest convention that our community has hosted in more than a decade. So really excited about August 26th.
And this is one that people will see happening because, some of the plans they have are a parade downtown Davenport. I mean, they'll be here for several days. They're coming back again, 2 seasons.
Right.
So this is one, and not every meeting, convention are something that people would notice is even happening in the community. And that's interesting because it's like the unseen economic turntable, right? Like we're bringing in this business. These people are experiencing our community, taking home stories with them. And we want everyone to know about that, but it's hard because it's not always under your nose.
It's tough because so much of what we do sometimes kind of flies underneath the radar.
Yeah.
It still produces a significant amount of benefit and value for our community. It might not always be everyone's cup of tea either with the particular, programming, but that's our role. Tourism is one, apolitical, and it's something that we've got to look at the broad swath of what opportunities are out there that we could go after and bid on and hopefully land and host. But that's a prime example of like how these things take a couple of years to maybe bring to bear. Maybe not everyone's going to see it or touch it, but I guarantee you, if you go into a hotel, pop in a restaurant, if you're at one of the venues, or if you're in downtown, Davenport during the parade day, you're going to see an event like this come to life. But there are a lot of things that are happening that are not that large. We could have a conference for 80 people, or 100 here, 200 there, 500 there. And all of this kind of rolls up. And why it's important on the economic side is it's generating a lot of tax revenue. That tax revenue is filling up our public sector's coffers. Like if you look at revenue in 2024 alone in local taxes and state taxes that are generated out of the Quad Cities region, about $166+ million in local and state taxes generated. And that's in our visitor economy. And so we need those things to come in because it's helping drive, revenue, and that non-resident revenue is gold. So the more we can do it Monday through Thursday, that's really where we need to be.
And earlier you had mentioned hashtag Bring It QC.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a helpful, what do we call it? A campaign, a hashtag, it is what it is, but basically it's our attempt to share with the region, Quad citizens, you're part of this engine.
Right.
We want and need your ideas. It's so easy. I mean, there's places on our website you can go, Bring It QC. Our website is visitquadcities.com. So if you search Bring It QC, or if you just, got an idea, you can email one of us or hashtag it, put on Facebook. We're always checking. I think that's such a valuable piece of marketing because it loops everybody in. This isn't just a Visit Quad Cities endeavor. This is everybody can play,
Well, I guarantee you, if you went to any organization and you just combed the halls and said, hey, are you a part of this association? Or like, what are you involved in from an extracurricular perspective? I guarantee you, people are going to be connected to something. It could be a trade association, a professional development organization. It could be a church affiliated organization. So many different things. And guess what? These organizations are hosting meetings. So our small and mighty staff do a phenomenal job, but this is about like broadening this team-based approach. We don't necessarily care where the lead comes from.
Right.
We want to qualify it. We want to see if it makes strategic sense for our community. Does it fit within the parameter of the calendar and how we want to shape certain things?
Yeah.
And then we got to go after and try to land it. But like everybody can be part of that team, and we want your ideas because you never know. The Central Shrine is a perfect example of we weren't necessarily thinking at that moment like that was going to be a thing that was going to work for our community. And this gentleman called, and guess what? We're going to have it here in August 2026. And so we need more of that. We can certainly build our portfolio, but it really does take a community to be able to do that. And if we want to be competitive in the space, we're going to need the business community, public sector leadership. Everybody can play a role, and it doesn't always need to be that big thing. It can be something small too.
Totally. Opposite of small, I would say, would be Gathering of the Green.
Yeah.
Gathering of the Green is coming really quickly, and like, what is a more appropriate event than Gathering of the Green for the Quad Cities? So that's something that has been kind of in our radar for several years. What are you looking forward to as it comes forward?
It's a real fun event.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed being connected to it. I know our team has, and we do have a lot of sweat equity put into that particular event. But it is definitely like the John Deere effect in full force.
Yeah.
It is green and yellow. It is heritage, marketing. It is sort of that feeling that people get when they're connected to John Deere and have a love for John Deere. So it's people that are in that collectible space, the people that literally, and it's not just the US. I mean, you're having people from all over the world that have this emotional connection to John Deere, and they want to be around that community, and they want to see vintage equipment. They want to have these conversations with people that share that passion for Deere. And so it's here every other year, right? Yeah. So it's not here all the time. And so to be able to have it in 2026, we're excited. There's a wonderful committee of John Deere enthusiasts who, through this nonprofit organization, that really, produce it. But we are with them hand in glove to make it a reality. There's tours that happen in the community. The River Center in downtown Davenport is completely, activated. And it's just a wonderful, event, whether you're 8 or 80. If you've got that love affair with John Deere, it's definitely a place to be.
And new this year for that crowd, we've got the John Deere Trail, which we haven't had a gathering of the greens since that self-guided experience has been available. So I'm really hoping we're going to get the word out. We're going to let these folks know that this is here and available, and it's just so cool because it's easy. It's on your phone, and you can just take a leisurely pace of John Deere history, art, the current spaces, the pavilion. There's so many walkable places that you can go and just check out, really just at your own pace, which is nice. And then it's just an extra something that we can offer to the folks that are interested in John Deere when they come.
I think that the John Deere Trail is such a cool tourism product that we offer, right? And we've got this amazing blend of tourism products, but I'm really proud of that one because they're so central to our brand and our story. And it's a way that we could kind of, build that out a little bit and do it in an immersive way and use technology to be able to help that story. It's a wonderful story. It's so central to like our past and our present and our future. Yeah. And I'm really excited about the future and where that trail is going to go.
One thing I wanted to, pick your brain on while we're here together.
Yeah. In this amazing new space.
Yeah. I'm just so pumped about how this all turned out. Our neon QC. I mean, it's everything. So.
We turned this storage closet.
It was,
in Union Station, one of our destination centers, into an incredible new platform to share the story of the Quad Cities. So kudos to you, Katrina. Thanks for your leadership and for making it happen. But it's fun. It's colorful. Yeah. And I think it's a great representation of this podcast and where we can take it.
It's very Quad Cities. It's very us. Just so excited about it. And so, having this conversation here, we're so excited to have more guests come in and have them experience our space. It's surprising. We talked about this a little earlier before we were recording, but it's surprising, how, people may have lived here their whole lives, but haven't been here since it was a train station back in the day, or, they haven't experienced our destination center since it unveiled in 2022. So it's just a really good opportunity to bring in more people and get them an inside look.
Agreed.
So, sorry I derailed. Oh, is that a train?
I think it's a train.
Oh my gosh!
This is our inaugural train sighting. Now we can't see it.
No.
We know it's out there.
We hear it.
It's right behind us.
That's fantastic.
And that's one of the coolest things about Union Station. The Quad Cities is about river and road and rail, and the fact that literally for 100 years this building has been here, but. Trains are such a big part of the Quad Cities, and the fact that they're going to roll through, even when we're doing a podcast, what more fitting way to bring this first, podcast from Union Station alive by having a train. You can hear it right at the door. There it goes.
Honk, honk.
We need to do a shot or something when the train goes by.
Clink.
So we'll need to think about what that looks like moving forward.
This is a new podcast environment. Got a new podcast, new environment, and so we were brainstorming kind of ways that we can have fun with the trains. But this is gonna happen because since we've even been here the last hour and a half, I think we've heard 2 or 3. So this is so great. Okay, perfect. Good segue.
And cue the train. Sometimes you just gotta cue it.
Just passing through. So, okay, visitation trends. I want to talk to you about that. So, really interesting, and this is going on nationally as well as in our community. We see visitors coming less frequently, but when they come, they stay longer. And that's huge. Like on a marketing perspective, that's huge. And if we strategize correctly, this is where we can really shine, because all of the group business we were just talking about, yes, those folks are coming in for something, but we have so much more that they can stay for.
Right.
And so, we're constantly talking about, what are you interested in? What do we have here? I mean, our community, we're world-class and hassle-free. When you come here, you're going to experience attractions, great places to eat. We've got our own QC-style pizza. We've got so many local makers. The creativity here is off the charts, the creative capital of the Midwest. And I just think that the more we can drive that home with folks coming in, the better we'll be, and the more competitive we can stay.
Right. Yeah. What's unique about your comment about visitation. We do spend a lot of time and energy in and around understanding who our customers are. Where are visitors coming from? What do they want to experience? They're looking for that authenticity, but understanding the numbers behind the data, and then how to activate that is really critical if you're trying to create this emotional connection and really a brand connection to hopefully turn that into a conversion. And it's evolved so rapidly over the last few years, and visitor trends are gonna ebb and flow. I mean, geopolitical things impact it, economic conditions impact it, the environment impacts it. It all is kind of connected. But your point about getting people to stay a little bit longer, is really a key thing for us. And if you think about that term bleisure, a lot of people in our destination marketing organization space talk about that, and it really is the thing. And more and more people they might be coming in for a convention or a meeting, but they might want to come in early a day, or maybe stay on the back end. So when we've got a bunch of group business on the slate for the next several months, how are we trying to convince them to maybe do that day trip earlier, do that on the back half of the stay? So that's something we need to pay attention to. We also need to make sure that we're recognizing that sometimes you want to follow the trends. Sometimes might not be your path. So doing what is in the best interest of your community and how you want to connect with those visitors. A lot of people don't realize that we have international visitors in the Quad Cities. They might not understand that, but we do. Those are things that we are inducing through our work and partnerships with Travel Iowa and the Illinois Office of Tourism, or organizations like Brand USA. So understanding what is that international audience looking for, whether they're coming from Germany, whether they're coming from Great Britain, Australia, Brazil, it doesn't matter, but just making sure that we're cognizant of what that looks like so that we can try to figure out ways to connect with them. And it's hard to. You got to figure out ways. I mean, we're not doing media buying, in Sydney, Australia.
Right.
We can't afford to do that, but we sure as heck need to make sure that we understand that marketplace and how to reach them when they're in the States. And I think what's going to be unique about 2026 is, you got America's 250.
Yes.
You've got some very large scale events, FIFA, you've got the Olympic, you've got all of these things that are coming down the pike. And so it could present some unique opportunities for the state of Illinois, the state of Iowa, to try to figure out ways to elevate our profile, to maybe connect with those people. Because maybe if they're coming in for one of those events, boy, can we grab them, for a day.
Yeah.
And those are the things that we're always keenly aware of
Yep.
in terms of how we leverage. But I think also understanding where are people, coming from. And our profile is Midwest. Chicago is our leading, our source market. But boy, Missouri continues to get steam. Indiana is a state that we've seen a trend up over the last couple of years, and so like something's happening in some of these markets. And then how do we have a presence in that so that we can continually drive more traffic and hopefully bring more people into the Quad Cities?
Mm-hmm. And on America 250, we've got just that great opportunity that we have already dug our heels into. We've got the America 250 landing page on our website that really showcases the Quad Cities story in connection to the country's history. It's so great. On visitquadcities.com, we've got the community events calendar, hundreds, probably dipping into 1,000+ events every year, user generated. So we get tabs on everything going on, the most comprehensive in the region calendar for sure. Every America 250 event that is available will be on that America 250 landing page that we're here to offer. So it's that crowd that I'm from Germany, I'm here for whatever,
right.
But here's this milestone. You're in our community. We are so psyched to have you. And here is all the other things we're doing to celebrate. We also encourage people, to use that calendar, but we encourage people to use the trip planning tool on our website, because every experience is different. It's going to be different in, not one size fits all. We can throw itinerary ideas at you all day, but until you get in and look at your dates, your interests, you can customize your own activities while you're here. And that's another thing that I think is helpful, to just push that, do one more thing, stay one more night, see one more sunset, keep that stay one more day strategy moving.
Yeah, and I think what's unique about America 250 is I'm really proud that we kind of jumped out there early, and we were kind of pushing our state partners to think through how do we mobilize an effort around this, because for us, selfishly being the home of the Rock Island Arsenal and having those brave and men and women that are connected to our community, but we are such a military driven region by having the Arsenal here, but it's more than that. The cultural and historical context of the Quad Cities, literally from the Revolutionary War through the Civil War to the things that have happened over hundreds of years in history that's helped shape the Quad Cities. Arguably, we're a huge part of our nation's, story.
Yes.
On multiple, levels, and we're proud of that history. And so how can we elevate that? And that's not just to leverage America 250. That's something that we need to be doing, 365 days out of the year. But this year will be unique in that we can put a little red, white, and blue love into that, direction. And we can really, hopefully bring about some more awareness about how the Quad Cities is entrenched in some really unique American history. And we are, and the people that, are connected within that world are helping us, shape some of those stories. And there's a lot more to come, and I'm really excited about it.
In development is the Rock Island Arsenal Trail, which will be just the perfect complement.
I wasn't teeing that up for you. I just felt like, I'd throw it out there.
I think it's good it's a good segue, and it's going to be part of the Quad Cities story. It's the perfect complement to America 250. But when people come, whether they're visiting the Arsenal or they didn't know they could go on the Arsenal, it'll highlight that history and those places of interest that are on the island that maybe you didn't hear of, maybe is right under your nose. The cool thing about these tourism products, the Ale Trail, the Coffee Trail, soon to be Rock Island Arsenal Trail, etc., is the customer doesn't just have to be a visitor. It can be those folks who live here and want to explore more stuff that they didn't even know was here.
Yeah, and what I love about them is, I think they really sort of invigorate a sense of, community. Every single one of them has their own audiences. I'm sure there are some people like myself that are, part of all of them.
Yeah.
You don't have to be.
Right.
But from, coffee to public art to beer to John Deere to, the Rock Island Arsenal trail coming down the pike. There's something for everyone. And those products are important. The Quad Cities is a product.
Mm-hmm.
We need to treat it like a product. We need to organically help it grow like a product. But if we can create certain things to maybe connect the people that are here, whether you're a Quad citizen or a visitor, to all that we have to offer, and we can do that through technology and through a mobile device or a tablet or what have you. That's a big piece of what we need to do as a DMO.
Yeah,
is to help get these stories unearthed and to push them in ways so that people can find them and learn about us, and hopefully that's gonna turn into a visit and maybe something a little bit deeper than that. And that's really the ultimate goal.
Let's talk destination development a little bit. So a little inside baseball, because a lot of people listening or watching may not have been to our annual event. Every fall we have an annual event, Destination QC. It's open to anybody, any stakeholders, partners, people who are interested in what we're doing, just those that are involved and want to know more. All are welcome. And so this year, you kind of talked about developing our community, a facilities master plan.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about what that means?
Sure. I think from our point of view, our tourism master plan is such an important guidepost for us. And I know we talked about a destination QC, like what's next,
Mm-hmm.
always trying to put the future, forward as much as we can. But, the time is really now in 2026 to really go through a process to have a comprehensive facilities and venues master plan, to really look under the hood,
Mm-hmm.
Get a feel for kind of where we are, what's the direction that we need to head as a region. There's 800,000 square feet of functional event and meeting space in the Quad Cities. Some of it is optimal,
Mm-hmm.
some of it is not. Some of it needs to be modernized and put into a posture to make us more competitive, to bring in group business. And there could be new things that we need to put on the table and have those conversations. Most really good communities go through these exercises, right? They might not have a specific time dimension, to them, but you need to go through it so you know exactly where are your gaps, where are the flaws, where are the opportunities that you can seize. And we've been talking about this for a few years. We just haven't had, the financial resources to go ahead and invest in this work product. But I'm going to do everything in my power with our board of directors and our professional team to advance that, because the time is now, because more and more communities are investing in their facilities.
Mm-hmm.
They're either identifying new ones to bring online, or they're figuring out ways that they can be competitively, positioned. And if we're not, we're going to lose business. I know at our annual event, I talked about the amount of lost business that we've had over a 35-year history.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's real. And so it's usually not just one thing. That could just be, hey, I don't like the weather in the Midwest. I want to be by a beach.
Sure.
I want to be in a larger city. I want a walkable footprint. I want better airlift. I need this type of hotel, product. I'm looking for this amount of, meeting rooms within a facility. I need this, and this. And with the advent of AI coming online, sometimes you might not always be working with a meeting planner that you've, built a relationship with over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
It could literally be through just technology, you're being weeded out based on certain things, within the RFP process. So making sure that we're prioritizing our facilities and our venues, the ones that are longer in the tooth. How do we address those? And then what are the things on the horizon that we really need to be thinking about? Because it's not necessarily going to benefit Visit Quad Cities as an organization directly. What it's going to benefit is our quality of life and our economic development positioning and our growth. And either we're going to be on a growth trajectory or we're not.
Mm-hmm.
And our competitors are doing this. And so if we're not, we're just simply going to be left behind.
Mm-hmm. And having we had the annual event. We kind of started getting the discussions and thoughts going about this. We invited everybody to take part in our resident sentiment survey as well, which I think plays into this because it gave the public an opportunity to share what they see is good, bad, right, wrong about the place that they're living in, and make a little bit of a movement to improve areas that they see need improvement.
Yeah, I think you have to go through, I'll call it like a customer intake every now and then, right? You gotta take the pulse of your community to get a feel for like how you're doing in a variety of things.
Yeah.
And a resident sentiment survey is vital to understanding, what are Quad Cities like and how are they feeling about, tourism? What is their perception? Not only how are we doing as an organization, but what are the things that maybe we need to prioritize as a DMO moving forward. So we literally just got in these results. We're going to go through a process with our board of directors to like really understand, the findings, and really just kind of gleaning the information, very quickly. The one thing I do know is people in the Quad Cities feel that tourism is an economic development, generator, and it's positive and it does good things to our community. So that's like the number one most salient, point that I think we always need to remember is tourism. It does so many positive things, whether it's economic, impact, whether it's social, impact, it's, quality of life driver. It's all of these things in terms of how you want to build brand image and perception in a global economy. So I'm looking forward to like really digging in on these findings.
Yeah, me too.
And then articulating them out to our community and our stakeholders so they understand what did we learn and what are the things that we need to really focus on in the future.
I think one of the things we had talked about or really brought to light a couple of years ago at an annual meeting was the braggability factor of the Quad Cities. And, I know we have seen growth in that element, so that's fantastic. And it's everything. It's the assets, it's the attitudes, it's opportunities like this, that I think can increase somebody's resident pride. And it's always what like my mission, and I know like our teammates' mission is to improve that resident pride because there is so much to be proud of.
There is, and I think if you go back and look at those numbers, and I haven't seen, where we stack in this latest, finding, but I know in 2016, excuse me, there was a survey that was done, and I want to say only 29% of Quad citizens were willing to brag about living in the Quad Cities. And then when we did the survey in 2019 and announced those findings in 2020, it was 48%. So that, that moved a little bit. So I'll be really curious. I think if it's below 48%, I'm going to be really disappointed that maybe, we haven't, done enough as an organization and as hopefully a catalytic engine to try to get more resident pride, get people more excited about living in the Quad Cities. But it is so critical. It's really one of the most important things that you can do is take pride in your community because you got to figure out a way to believe in it. Mm-hmm. You got to figure out a way to, help market it and sell it.
Yeah.
And you got to do that repetitively. Like you got to do that all the time. Or you're just simply not gonna grow.
Yeah.
And so that pride factor, that quotient, is so vital to the things that we do at Visit Quad Cities, and it's why we look at that as a key metric for success. Now, do I ever think we're going to be at 100%? No, I do not. But I want us to continually work hard as an organization to drive that forward because I feel it's important.
And we don't want to be at 100% because. That's like Stepford Wives. Everything seems perfect, and it's not.
And it's not. It shouldn't be. It should never be perfect. The Quad Cities is not a perfect place.
Right.
I mean, we know our flaws. We have many, but I also know that we've got a lot of people that believe in this place and they want to see it thrive. And so the secret sauce of the whole thing is just getting the right energy behind that, but keeping the resources, keeping the investment, keeping the word of mouth moving as rapidly as we can to hopefully connect with others and people that are maybe considering, moving here or visiting here or whatever it is. I know we'll do whatever it takes to make that happen.
Thanks for the chit chat. This was
Thank you.
fantastic. Cheers.
Hey, cheers. I love being in a new space. This podcast is so important to what we do at Visit Quad Cities, and really excited about all the guests that we've got lined up for 2026 and beyond. And thanks so much for your leadership, and it's an amazing space, and really glad to be here.
I'm surprised we didn't hear another train.
Hey, one.
We got one.
I think you did that on purpose.
I might have paid somebody to do it. Thank you so much for listening, for watching, for however you are taking in this podcast. Always engage with us, social media, our website, visitquadcities.com, and remember, it all starts with a visit.
You've been listening to QC That's Where, powered by Visit Quad Cities. The stories don't stop here. There's always more happening, more to discover, and more reasons to say, QC, that's where. Explore it all at visitquadcities.com.